let's begin. Whew. So last class, yeah, no, you were not in the last class. Right, yeah, because what happened on Wednesday? Yeah, I was in class. Came on Thursday. No, it was Thursday that was it Thursday we had that class? Thursday, okay. So I didn't come on Wednesday, came on Thursday. Then it doesn't matter. We'll catch up. We recorded the class, so I will give you the video, but also tell you what we did. So basically used some tools to um, content aware, right? Erasure, healing, basically call photo manipulation. What we did. That's like changing, using this picture and swapping the oranges within them, cleaning the pimples from these people's faces, and stuff, changing this girl's clothing to multiple colors. There's a multiple pictures, changing the background of this guy. So I'll run that with you separate day. Today we're going to talk about a few other things like layers, layer masks, basically masking, what masking is. I want to talk about masking. I want to talk a little bit about drawing as well, how to draw in Photoshop so that we can be making flyers and stuff. Okay, so where do I start? Hmm. Okay, let me just create a new blank default Photoshop page. All right. So, um, what's masking? What is masking? Typically, when we're talking about masking, it has to do with how we reveal or hide a layer. So, an, an effect that enables you hide or reveal portions of a layer or an object, basically. So, it's usually non-destructive to an extent, very non-destructive. But then there are various kinds of maskings we can create. But two of the most common masks we can create, we have the ones we call layer masks, and then we have what we call vector masks. So a layer mask uses layer properties, basically rasterized concepts. Let me do something here. Let me just write layer masks and just do this. I'm just trying to write something that will change the. Okay, so just writing two words, not serious. I'll use one to show a layer mask and use one to show vector mask. So for layer masks, when we are creating them, they basically work with pixels. The pixel vector of our layers generally. So they need how will I put it? They could work either on rasterized layers or smart layers. Doesn't really matter what layer kind they are, as long as even if it's a video layer, you can work on any kinds of layer. But what makes them the way they function is they work by um, using pixels. They are pixel oriented. Let me change the coloring so that you can see the differences when it happens. Okay. All right. So layer mask, both of them can be created or will be created when you create them, we will see them appear here in our layers panel. We'll see all the masks created there. So layer masks use pixels. So basically, you can use tools like the brush tool to create them, and you can't adjust them by creating points. Rather, you brush out the because they use pixels, so you practically paint them out. Uh, Simple ones that we've been doing so far is when we make a selection and then we cut out the background from the person. That mask that is created at that point is a layer mask. It uses pixels from an image. Vector mask, on the other hand, requires using a vector shape or a shape that you draw in Photoshop to create that masking technique. So I'm going to show the two examples. I will show layer mask using that layer mask section. I'll show you vector mask using the vector mask section. So let me select the layer first. So the most easy way to find or to make a layer mask is by clicking on this button here. This actually you can create two of them. Click it there. The other way is to come under layer here. I will see layer mask and you can hide or reveal one or the other. Same thing with vector mask. You can hide or reveal. So if I come here while this guy is selected, I can click here and it creates a this kind of white paper here. In Photoshop, or let me say design generally, white signifies visibility, that is presence of everything. Just like when the color theory said white is presence of all the colors. Black signifies transparency. So just clicking on the image and selecting this created a white background, meaning that I'm just creating a blank mask that is still showing everything in the layer. If I didn't, or if I made a selection from this guy, maybe like I took my selection tool and selected this object here. Now I have a selection separate from the whole layer. If I click there now, it will create a different kind of colored mask that is kind of black. Then we have white showing where what is visible in that layer. So the black now has hidden everything else. That is the mask section. This one is still showing because it's on a different layer. So, but we're not working with that layer mask there. Fine, let me do it like this. Let me turn this one off so I don't confuse. So this black now signifies what you don't want to see in that layer. Okay, if I right click on it, I can, that's on the layer marks, I can disable it so that you see what it's hiding. It's hiding this word masks. So was can enable it back. Now, if I can't use take my move tool now or anything and move the mask away from, or that's in that black section. I can't move it away because it's pixelated. It basically works with pixels. So, but if I want to do anything on this layer now with this mask selected, I will need to kind of paint it out. So maybe look for this brush tool and make sure that here is not black, is white. So probably change here to white. Then let me increase my brush. I can now paint the thing back. And as I'm painting, what I'm painting is also reflecting here that, oh, I'm painting something out. Because it's pixel based, the outline or the shape of the mask is based off pixel selections, normal, like how, like if you are making selections from a picture. So it's not really lines, basically. So I can't really see key points. If I want to hide the layers back, I just change this guy back to black here, and I can paint it back, and it does that. So either I do that, or I just use my selection tool again, and let me turn off this one, and then I can now backspace, or to bring everything back, or alt backspace to delete everything again and stuff like that. So just a weird way of making marks. That's generally it. That's how we work with layers. So this is the masks here. This is the selection. Okay. Um, so those are layer masks. Now a vector masks will require me to use a shape tool, like either a pen or a normal shape. Okay, make sure I'm not drawing a shape. Probably I'm drawing a path instead. And with this layer selected, I can now click to form this path like this and create a vector mask. So you can see it's white, showing me that, oh, this is viewed, right? And if I held Alt to do that, it now turns it black. Black meaning I can't see anything. So difference between layer marks and vector marks. Let me undo that so that we'll see it again. Let me turn this guy again to white. Let me shift to the vector side. Now, with a vector mask, these points, I can move them around. I can click on these points and change the points just like if I'm moving with a shape, not like the other one. The other one, I couldn't do this kind of thing because it was pixelated. This one is vector because it basically is just using a shape, and then how you are moving around the shape will determine what is being masked at that moment. So the primary thing here is it's hiding or revealing a portion of the layer. So that's what vector marks does. So these are vector marks. Two of them are good. There's not really a what do you say, a construct that says which one is better for you to use. You can use any of them, but the most uh, easy one to control, or but let me say the most commonly used one, are layer masks, because most times people find it difficult to understand how to use the vector masks because it can be confusing that, okay, sometimes you need to even create a layer mask first before you create a vector mask on top of it. So it can be weird in that way. Okay, so but either way, the bottom line is they both hide or reveal portions of a layer. That's what a mask is all about. Um, uh, all right. So let me come back to before I created the mask. Now, this is the same thing, whether it's an image I'm using or the, let me get an image. Okay, let me take this guy. All right. So I have this picture, let's say, and I want to create, um, let me take this and draw something like this. Okay. So let's say I have a design, magazine design like this. Okay. And yeah, this looks cool enough for my concept or for what I'm trying to achieve. But now I'm facing this problem of this half part of this picture. If I expand the picture longer, it will stretch out the image. If I drag everything, it will make the image cut off. But probably this is the exact length of the paper I want to use. Okay, so but I need to find a way to blend this background with this white here for my design, basically. So I can add a mask, a layer mask to this image that will fade off that edge into the picture. So it looks like they they are both blending into the white background. Okay, so first thing to do is to click on this guy to add that white mask. If I hold Alt and do it, it will add a black mask and to hide the picture completely. So click, normal click, just Alt and click. In most of these kinds of selections, when you do Alt and click, you're kind of doing the reverse of what the normal click will do. So I'll just click and get a white mask. So I'll buy to blend this guy. So look at the layer here. This white kind of bracket that tells you what part of that layer you're selecting. This is very important in the selection process. If the white bracket is here, it means you're on the original picture, you're not on the mask. So anything you do is the original picture you're affecting. But if the white bracket is here, it means I want to work on the mask path itself. Right. So I want to create that blend. So from here it should be white and it fades into the body of the person. So I will use, for that blend, I will use a gradient, kind of a gradient that moves from one color to another color. The two colors I want to move from is black to white, knowing that black is transparent, white is visible, right? So this is the gradient tool, this guy. So I just click on it, making sure that this is black and white. That's very important. And up here too is black and white. Then I can click anywhere here and drag to my right and then it creates that fade. So once you have that black and white, this thing, once you click and drag, that first place you clicked is where the black will be. Where you stop clicking is where the white will end. So it now creates that transition from one color to the other. Okay, so let me do it again. I click somewhere here and I drag. So here is somewhere here and it creates that fade. So it fades, it's like the picture is fading into that white background. It doesn't matter where you drag from. If I dragged from here up, the important thing is where I clicked first, this blue marker is where black will start from. Wherever that cross ends is where the white will begin. So it will fade in that direction either way. So any direction you drag from, that's where it's going to fade from. So it doesn't really matter what. So the important thing is just know that, okay, I'm trying to achieve this effect. So to create this stuff. So it's easy to make a design like this by using masks without having to cut off the image. And like I said, it's non-destructive. So that means if I right click here, I can disable the layer mask and the picture comes back. Or I right click and enable it. And in case I still want more, I can click and drag again to add more of the transition. Okay, so it's quite seamless to work those kind of stuff. So this is a layer mask. It works with pixels. Now on another note, when you create a mask on the top here, on the top right, where your properties, you have, because it's masks I selected, so I now have the kind of mask I can pick. I can make a kind of mask. So the first one is layer mask, a normal layer mask. The second one is create or add a vector mask. So I want to do a layer mask, but I want to make a vector mask for them. So I can click here to add a vector mask. And a vector mask, obviously, you use a shape and create that one. So that's just a vector mask. You just create a mask that exists within a shape, basically, and then you can now play around with your shape. So, but like I said, it's not the most common, but it is also a masking style that is used in design, right? Any questions so far? No questions? You can practice it. Just try it and remove it. No, you put timeline. When you're watching the video, it's the same way you put it. I can close it. I did. Yeah. Yes, I've seen them in this XD pics. This picture XD pics. Those girls, all of them are here. My husband, why did I doing that one? And I was just trying to show. But you have it, I think. Uh, how many things did I put here? So, because I know. Okay, I only put things for yours for this semester. Was I think we're trying to get space. I think I can't remember. Let me check. Yeah, because of space, I didn't put in some things yet. I wanted us to do it step by step. Mm. So that one is not a hard thing to something you can always copy out. So all these, all those ladies, all of them are here. Okay. Is it good? Are we good? So you can add, at least people have seen effects like this now on magazines or on designs. So somebody standing and then they blend into a background and then they use it to write text. Most times in graphic design, you want to create a sample card like this, a flyer. You don't need too much design. Just get a picture, fade it in, then use the blank space to write. You don't need to start drawing shapes. A simple design like this is okay. Okay. Um, when you do something like this, when you have a picture like this, and you, let me set a background color. When you have a picture like this, let me tune it up a little bit. And you do select subject or all those our selection tools that we've done so far. Okay. So like now I've selected this girl. I'm going to select a mask and try and mask out her hair. Okay, with my hair, I start drawing hair strands. Now, once I click OK, this thing that has created once I've cut out a background is called a layer mask because we see the black and white there. So the black is where the girl is and the white is, I mean, the white is where the girl is and the black is where she's not. Yeah, yeah. So this is a layer mask. Now, there's a question somebody has asked me before, and I want to just show that question. Somebody asked me once if, how do you open camera? Is it camera off? Okay, ABI. Couscous. Hmm. open. Let me get somebody else. Okay. There's something that these guys can do. You can actually transfer a mask to another layer. So, like for instance, this lady's mask layer. Let me delete this layer mask. Let me start with her one first. So I have this picture, for instance, and I have this picture, and I've made this selection, but then I have multiple of the pictures. So somebody said I should make the selection again and remove the background from multiple versions of her image, which kind of going to be stress for me. So I can simply just hold Alt and copy the layer mask into the new layer and